Hello. Welcome to the Big 550 KTRS here in St. Louis.
Hi, Ron. How you doing?
All right, good. Now, is the name of the book My Life on the Street, on the Stage, and in the Movies, or is the name of the book I Only Know Who I Am When I Am Somebody Else?
You got it. That's it.
Dan,
I only know who I am when I am somebody else, and that's easy to explain. I don't know who the hell I am, except when I'm doing a character. I know exactly what I'm going to say. I know where I come from. So it's easy to determine who I am, actually, by a character that I play. But in life, I'm not quite sure to this day. But that makes it interesting.
Sure.
You know, Simon and Schuster, for the longest period of time, Ron, didn't want that title. I said, it's too long, shorten it. I said, no. My wife says that's me. She heard a song that sounded like that, and she said to me, that's you. I said, what are you talking about? You don't know who you are. That became the title. I stuck with it, and Simon & Schuster was good enough to allow me to use it.
That was good. Danny Aiello, you grew up in New York, sort of a ragtag start. How did you fall into acting?
I've been through so much in life. I was in the Army at the age of 17. I got married at the age of 20. I had 4 children and so forth, and now, of course, 11 grandchildren. I had a job at the Greyhound bus terminal for a period of time. I was a public address announcer. You know those guys who do Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Pittsburgh, Wheeling, Columbus, Indianapolis, Terre Haute, Effingham, St. Louis, Tulsa, Oklahoma City, and Dallas, Texas. I was one of those guys that did that. I became the union president eventually, the youngest in the country, and we had a wildcat strike, and I got fired in 1967. I floundered around New York City not knowing quite what to do. How do you go into an unemployment office and say, I'm a union president if you got a job for me? Of course, it was an elected position. However, floundering around after losing my job, I went into a place called The Improvisation in New York City, a famous comedy club where all the great comedians came from. Rodney Dangerfield, Robert Hines, so many, David Brenner. And Bud Friedman, the proprietor of the place, he owned it, liked me, and offered me a job. He recognized my talent, and he made me a bouncer. and while I was bouncing, I met some people. A fellow by the name of Louis LaRusso II, a neophyte writer, walks in and says, I'd love you to be in my play. I said, I'm not an actor. He said, yes, you are. You just don't know it yet. And lo and behold, that's what happened. I became an actor after that. We did our first Broadway play, which was called Lamppost Reunion, which he had written for me. And then he wrote me a play called Knockout, and then he did one called Wheelbarrow Closes. Each of those I starred in, along with a play called Gemini. And my first movie was in 1973, Bang the Drum Slowly with Robert De Niro. I started at the age of 36. That was my first stage play. My first movie was the age of 40, and I've done about 90 movies since. I've been very lucky because I never studied. I just utilized what knowledge I had to be an actor, and that was simply using my imagination, and that was it.
Yeah, the book, Danny Aiello, our guest, the book is I Only Know Who I Am When I Am Somebody Else. Let's talk about that movie, Bang the Drum Slowly. It was a story about the Yankees, filmed at Shea Stadium, and they hired Robert De Niro and all these actors. Nobody knew how to play baseball except you. You out-acted Robert De Niro in that play.
Bobby threw the ball like his elbow was attached to his rib. And at one time in your life, you could say he threw the ball like a woman, but the women throw the ball now as good as the men, so there's no differentiation. But Bobby and my friend, one of the co-actors with me, would always attempt to teach Bobby how to trap balls that are in the dirt because he was playing the catcher. So we successfully achieved that, but never was able to teach him how to throw. I mean, I couldn't believe when I saw it on the screen. It looked terrible because anyone who knows about baseball knew that was a problem. However, he was great in the part, acting the part. He was marvelous. Not as a ball player. That didn't work too well for him. May I tell you something, Ron, that happened with Vincent Gardenia, who I loved, who passed away?
Yeah, please.
Vincent, of course, played the coach. Vincent knew nothing about baseball, so much so. He said, he walked out. I was teaching him things. Someone said to him, go to third base. So he said, where's third base? Now, we didn't believe him when he said that, but he knew nothing about baseball. Now, this was my first movie. I'm in the corner mumbling. I'm in uniform, off in the locker room, mumbling to myself how to say lines in the play, which would be the first lines I've ever said in a movie. I had about 8 of them.
Sure.
And I'm mumbling, and Vincent walks over. What's the matter, kid? I said, well, Mr. Gardenia, I said, I'm having great difficulty trying to figure out how I want to say these lines. Now, I know if I do them bad and I go to see the movie 50 times, I'm going to suck 50 times. And he looks at me and he said, don't worry, kid. You're probably never going to work again anyway. I swear to God, may he rest in peace. That's Vinny. He didn't mean it, and thank God it didn't happen. Excuse me, because it's worked out very well for me.
Danny Aiello is our guest. The name of his book is I Only Know Who I Am When I Am Somebody Else. One more quick story or question. You were in one of the greatest movies of the 80s and probably one of the greatest movies of last century, Do the Right Thing. Still very poignant today, all these many years later. What are your thoughts as you look back at that movie?
It's 25 years, and Spike and I are very close, although we're on different stages politically, and naturally he's a liberal, and I'm a conservative. I'm to the right of Attila the Hun, and he loves Michael Jordan, and I love Larry Bird for the obvious reasons, but we're very close. I love doing the movie. At the beginning, I thought it was a bomb. I didn't understand what was happening because there were no drugs in a neighborhood that has drugs, and I resented the movie for it was more like a fable than a real picture to me, until Spike and I began to discuss it, and I understood then that it was political reasons. He didn't want drugs to be in a way of racism. He wanted clear heads to show what racism was, not some guy stoned on coke or something saying he hates a black man or he hates a white man. He just wanted them to be clear-headed, intelligent people and make the issue only race. And I think that he succeeded in doing that, and he allowed me to do a lot of my own writing. And which was great. And again, I didn't know that he allowed all of his actors to make some sort of input on who their characters were. That's the kind of director he is. And I loved working with him, and we probably will do something again in a very short period of time, because we discussed that, not any specific project, but that we would work again together. He's a good guy. He's a good guy, and he's a tremendous marketing expert. I've never seen a guy like this in my life. He knows how to market what he's doing.
Yeah, it's nice to see that.
Knick game God knows, with the New York Knicks here in New York, he's sitting on the bench, so he's always well publicized.
It's nice to see.
But he's a good dude.
It's nice to see two people who come from different sides of the political spectrum be friends. So that's great. Danny Aiello. The book is I Only Know Who I Am When I'm Somebody Else. Are you still there, or did we lose you?
We lost him.
We lost him. Danny Aiello, My Life on the Street and on the Stage in the Movies. I only know who I am when I am somebody else. Danny Aiello. Wish we had more time, but
I know. I wanted to ask him about Godfather and how he ad-libbed that line.
That's why he wrote the book. You told me his cousin is the play-by-play guy for the Yankees, Michael Kay.
Yeah.
Michael Kay is the reason why I'm sitting in this seat right now.
Get out.
Yes, it is. I'll tell you that story on the other side of ABC News. It is 53 degrees. KTRS.